What's going on, you guys? It's Daniel with the Orange Shirt Crew, and today we're going to be diving into Netto's 37th place Ascent Niagara Water Umbra CL deck profile. Now, before we get into the video, as always, a huge thanks and shout outs to Modern Tabletop for sponsoring the team in this video. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. And we're here with the man himself, Netto. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going all right. Congratulations on your day 2 W out of the. You're no longer a coach. You are now a player.
Nah, still coach status for sure.
So Water Umbra CL. I know we even talked about it during our tier list. I mean, how did you feel going into the event overall?
So I felt pretty great. I've been playing this deck for pretty much since Cabin debuted it. We've been working on it with me and Jacob, another teammate. Pretty much since it got revealed after the Ryo ban, when Cabin did well with it, and I was like, man, this deck is exactly how I like to play Grand Archive with counter spells, and of course it's a water deck, so
Yep.
I'm right at home because that is my element. So yeah, I felt really good going into the tournament. I thought that my matchup spread was really good. I mean, I had two pretty tough matchups in Merlin and Dragon overall, but everything else had been testing really well. Pretty favored in a lot of different matchups, I felt like. So when you're going into a large tournament with a pretty wide field, I felt like that was a good place to be.
Nice, nice, and of course, Razor Gale won the event, which is bananas. That's
Very crazy.
that's wild. But overall, looking at what the floor was like, how did you feel the deck favored into the meta for the event?
So into the overall meta, I think it's good because again, you have a widespread matchup. Rather, you have a widespread of good matchups and only a few like pretty bad matchups and one toss matchup, which is Merlin. So going in, I felt fine. And after round one, seeing what my opponent was playing, he was playing Vanitas horses. I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly why I'm playing my deck because like you can, if you just match random things, like you're doing pretty okay. But then after talking with the main deck guys, Stevo, Corbin, and they're like, "We have bad news for you. There is a ton of Merlin in the room," and I was like, "Oh boy, it might be a bad day." So I was a little nervous after that, but you know, you just kind of hope to dodge and roll, and play the matchups as they come. So uh, thankfully, day one was not too bad. We got to kind of dodge some Merlins, and only had to play two of them, and only played one dragon. So when you're in an 8-round tournament, you really only need 5 wins and can afford two losses and a draw at minimum. So
Seems
it
good.
went pretty okay for me.
That's pretty dope. So let's go ahead and dive into the deck a little bit. Obviously we already talked about it. It's Water CL. So Water Spirit level 1, 2, 3. Your normal stuff like Backup Charger, Chalice of Blood, Grand Crusader. Um, the normal CL stuff like Armoire, playing Vapor Jet Shield, which is a little different of a tech. I like that. And then obviously Grand Sonore. And then your two techs of like Nullifying Lantern, Terraforming.
Yep.
So let's dive in a little bit. Obviously, Vapor Jet Shield is a little different from what a lot of people were trying out with this deck. What kind of made y'all really like move towards this going into the event?
So after the modern regional, where my only loss was to fire aggro, I was like, we really got to shore up the fire aggro matchup. It's a little too tossy for me in terms of like if they are on the play and they just go like Arthur Red Hair or Zhao Kao Red Hair and just like start beating you down on level one, like it's a lot of pressure and you don't have any board sweeps, and if you don't draw Paladin, you clearly can't out pressure or clear board, or it gets a little dicey. So about a week after the modern regional, we were like, what can we do to do that to shore up that matchup? And I was like, Vapor Jet Shield is really good against aggro. Nico used to play it back in the day, and it's just like I was like, you know what, we're Guardian. Wow, let's do it. Let's try it out.
Might as
So
well.
we tried it out, and it turns out it's really good. So When you have a bunch of float and you're a mill deck, you just kind of get it and you make it, and it feels really good. So I was really happy with that change. Jacob was also really happy with that change. We actually felt like it actually tilted the aggro matchups in our favor because it gave us so much time in conjunction with Storm of Thorns, which is also a bananas card. Guardian like
Hmm.
has had this forever, but Storm of Thorns is a very good card. But when you stack it with Vapor Jet Shield and
Broken.
almost all of their damage is in increments of two, they don't do any damage to you.
Yeah, that seems
So
pretty good.
yeah, so we really really liked it, and it just turns out that that card's very strong and very underrated. I mean, a lot of people don't play Guardians, like especially on water going to level 3, but
True.
if you can afford it, you should jam it. It's very good.
Yeah, for sure. Now, diving into the main deck here, obviously we have the 4 dungeon guide, the 4 liminal guide. I still hate playing liminal guide in a deck. The non-Ryle deck, even though Ryle's banned, but obviously I've seen you destroy me with it, so I get it. Um, our favorite negate card in the game, Acquiescent Projection, busted card for sure. The four the 4 ceruleans, the dredging stream. So did this
Mhm.
card really come up for you a bunch? Because I mean, obviously you touched on it where this is kind of like a water mill value deck type of thing. So was this a really key card? Did you feel like?
Oh yeah, Judging Stream is a really good card. It's in your worst matchup, Merlin, it helps you. So that matchup comes down to trying to make them spend cards because they're Merlin, so they're going to recover their influence later. But if you can pressure their influence early with Judging Streamsing their first float or their first liminal guide, like the matchup starts to feel a little better because they're not just doing whatever they want all the time. And even against matchups that like other liminal decks, mirror matches, other float decks, like even like Tristan, who's like they're only playing like a few reclaims, being able to snipe their one or two of floating memories that cause them to have to burn influence to do their level up plan is really, really strong. Card was impressive all weekend. Very good card.
Awesome. So obviously moving on, we still have Fractal of Rain in the deck, of course, Fracture Eyes, the Frost Warrens. So
Mhm.
Meyer, I really wanted to talk about this card because it seems crazy. Do you feel like that this is a card that kind of is like a mainstay and has to be in every water CL deck going forward? Or
I
really,
don't.
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of hit or miss. The weird thing about this card is your opponents fear this card way more than you actually want to play it, which sounds really weird. But
interesting.
you like when you play against aggro, like they're like, man, a well-timed Maya reparations just stops my whole turn. And it's like, yes, that's true, but like it's only a two of,
What?
and usually by that time it's like you only have like two or three omens. So it's like it's not really super impactful. But let me tell you, two is the perfect number. I would not change it, would not cut it. Less than two, would not add more than two. It is like literally the perfect number. If you go late game, against decks that like have chip damage and you haven't been able to make your vapor jet shield or whatever, just being able to recover 5 or 6 for 3 with a floating memory is like super strong. I had it heal one game. I had it heal for 5, and then I had it heal for 6 in subsequent turns,
Oh.
which was like backbreaking for my opponent. So
Yeah,
that was really good. But yeah, no, it's pretty good. I don't know that it's required for all CL decks, but I feel like if you're not playing at least one or two copies, then you're probably missing out on some staying power for sure.
got you. That's very interesting because even when you played the card against me a few times, I think I only ever really saw you heal for like 3 to 4. And I mean, it was still a really big deal when it happened, but I was always wondering, like, because I looked at a couple other lists from the event that were playing Water CL and they played either 0 or 1 or 2, and
Yep.
it felt like that was kind of the ratio, but that makes a lot of sense now, for sure. Moving on, of course, we have the primordial rituals, the refracting missiles like normal. So,
Mhm.
one revitalizing cleanse. Kinda talk
Yeah.
me through that.
So yeah, we used to have a second on the board. We really liked the one of in the main. but it's a little dated now because it was much better when we were playing Devouring Malice in the main, because it allowed us to do cheeky things like make Devouring Malice, take 8, and then Revitalizing Cleanse for like 7 or 8 healing, like right off
Okay.
the flip. And we don't do that as much anymore because I mean, we'll get to it, but the Devouring Malice is on the board now, and so the main deck one of is like fine. It does still come up. But the real big thing about it is because you're playing mill, if you mill it and you're CL, all of a sudden you're able to play it because you can get it back any point you want. And
Oh, that's
but
true.
the real big thing is it costs 5, which is half of the mana or the activation cost value you need to turn on Grand Sunrise +2 attack. So it's like it's it's kind of wild because like you might not play it, but at the same time, like you might make Grand Sonoray with 4 omens, and if you have a revitalizing cleanse in your omens, you just have the +2 attack. So
That's
like
bonkers.
it's pretty crazy because the deck is filled with 4 costs and yeah 3 costs. So like you 1 or 2 omens, like, you get your third omen, you're there on the Sonoray, and revitalizing cleanse just immediately turns on half of it. And like I can tell you that every single time I played the card maybe like 3 or 4 times this weekend total.
Hmm.
It never healed for more than 5, which it's fine. That's exactly what it needs to do.
Hmm.
But then it just sat in my omens as a threat of heal 5, and then I made Grand Sonorate, and it's like, cool. Well, I just attack you for 6 or 7 every single turn, so it's good.
Nasty.
Um, I have since the weekend fiddled with my deck again, because as one does,
Hmm.
after the weekend, felt some cards were not where they needed to be. I have actually added the second revitalizing cleanse back to the board.
Wow.
So it I really missed it in the Suzaku matchup, um, which I played twice this weekend, and they don't quite kill you fast enough to where the revitalizing cleanse won't matter. Um, but having 2 is pretty backbreaking for them. So I did miss that. So I added the second one back to the board. But yeah, revitalizing cleanse has always been one of my favorite cards to play in water, and it's still pretty good.
Mm. So the the two Song of Frost, and then obviously, if people are looking on the screen, the other two were in board.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like you wanted more of those in main during the weekend, or did it kind of feel irrelevant because Merlin was so prevalent on the floor?
So it is literally almost all for dragon. Um, the 2 main is perfect because against Merlin it stops like random sudden steal attacks. It'll stop like attack for 5 with sword, whatever. It's fine. You don't usually need more than 2 in any other matchup, just simply because you can loop them. But the other 2 being in the board are specifically for our dragon matchup, which is arguably the second worst matchup for the deck. Uh, but because you just want to see as many Song of Frost as you can possibly play to just stop dragging turn after turn after turn. So um, no more in the main. 2 is the perfect number in main board. But I am a firm believer that you need the full 4 package for the dragon matchup.
Gotcha. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Dragon definitely is a scary deck for pretty much anyone
Yeah,
playing any deck now.
I in my round 5, I played Braden from Maiden Deck, a good friend of ours, and
Mhm.
he's a prolific dragon player. Literally all he plays, and we were all joking about how it's a bad matchup for me, and how he was going to give me the beat down. And then we had a game 3 where I just casually casted 5 Song of Frosts, and
Ooh.
he he just couldn't overcome it. So like that's just how it is, right? Like,
Yeah, that happens.
yep.
um, so moving on, obviously the Storm of Thorns, MVP of the deck, MVP of any Water Guardian deck for sure.
Hmm.
The 3 Stonekeeper or the 4 Bullfrogs, great card.
Hmm.
3 Tide Divider. So walk us through why you like this deck. Obviously, it's a really good mill engine, but what's your real take on it?
Yeah, so really, so yeah, it does mill. Obviously selective card draw is nice. Being able to see 2, 3 cards and then grab one and put the rest in the bin, really nice. But honestly, the deck needs more neutral turn one plays because there's not really almost none.
Yeah.
But really, this is a good turn one play to just go turn one, draw a card, have 4 cards down in memory, be able to level if I need to. Really good. And then like it flexes later to be the oh well I'm level 2 and I'm before I want to go to level 3 after I've thumped a bunch of things in the yard with CL2. I can play it, look at 3 more cards, find the dungeon guide I need, whatever it may be,
Hmm.
and then just go from there. But it's it's very good. I wouldn't play the fourth. I wouldn't cut more to two. Three's exactly where you want it to be. Another good benefit of this card is it costs 4. So when you
Oh
make it an
God.
omen, it's like honestly, the biggest use of this card is like turn one, play it, uh, draw a card, level up, or if you're on the draw, you can go play this card, draw a card, and then primordial ritual away, mill 2 more cards, and then level up, and then make it an omen the next turn, and you have a 4 cost of your omen. So like
Gross.
it, it's pretty sweet. A lot of the deck revolves around uh, how much value you can extract off of each individual card, and this card just gives you a lot of value. So
That seems pretty good. Seems pretty good. I didn't even think about it as a turn one play, but I mean that primordial ritual. That's what, 3 cards,
mhm.
4 cards in trash already. It seems pretty good. Seems pretty
Yep.
good. So moving on to the small Umbra package you play, obviously the 2 carder. It
Mhm.
seems pretty mandatory to play. I like the two ofs here, of course, but the 2 Ombre Chevalier. I mean that card's bananas. Um,
Agreed.
and then the 2 Spirels. So obviously you know how Travis and I feel about this card. We love it to death. How did it
Mhm.
feel in Water Seal?
Sproul's pretty cracked. I'm not gonna lie. The card has you like if you've played other card games, usually when cards have massive long chunks of words on them, paragraphs of words, they're usually pretty good.
Yeah.
And this one is no exception. It does what it needs to do. It helps you close games. It stops problematic cards. Um, I can tell you that one of my Merlin opponents had Regal Inquisitions and ghosts or whatever. And I, in my round 3, I had beat them to 3 because they were trying to do the extract value at level 2, and I was like,
Mhm.
whatever, I'm not gonna play that game with you. So I just turboed to 3 and then slammed a Sporel, and
Ooh.
then they leveled up and went to go play a ghosts with 2 cards left in their hand, and I was like, ha. Well, I'll activate the Sporel and counter your ghosts, and then they
Ugh.
didn't they just like the game was almost over then at that point because I didn't get to go deeper. They couldn't play another ghosts, and then like I untapped with my Sporel, kept the 2 drop under it, and then the next turn they went to Regal Inquisition me, and I was like, well, I'll counter your Regal Inquisition, and then Imperial cord your Ghost Avenger that I know you have, and they were just like, I
Ooh.
can't do anything, like I can't do anything.
That's
So like
nasty.
Spirel's pretty crazy. So again, mentioning that I've actually tinkered with the deck a little bit since the tournament has ended. I actually cut the Chevaliers out of the deck because I'm going to be trying something new.
Oh.
Not the Chevalier is bad at all. Do not like the card is pretty great. It gives you more Omen triggers for your CL level 3. It's a 3/3 beater. Like it's a really good card, but I'm just trying something else new for now. But Spirel and Carter are like mainstays in the deck. There are times where I want 3 Carters, and there's times where I want 3 Spirels, but I can't really find the room for them. So I'm just 2-2ing them, and that's where they'll stay. Because Carter in aggro matchups and in certain matchups like Dragon or even Merlin, like you can just out tempo them by playing a Carter and just clearing their board.
True.
And then you follow up with like a Spirel, and then you can just start locking the game down. Chevalier is more of to me like, okay, I need to end the game. So I'm going to play a Chevalier, get a card back from my omens to help me to help me push more damage. And it's good at that. But I'm going to be trying coup loop instead now. So um,
Ooh.
yeah, it's gonna be a little different, but Chevalier is still a good card if you want to play it. I can't blame you. It was not really bad for me at all this weekend. I will say though that if you have to do a turbo game plan, the 3 cost can be a little much if you don't have fractals in play. so it can be a little awkward to play. And a lot of the times you want to try to like play my Chevalier, get a Chevalier back, play my Chevalier after I kill my other one and made it an omen, just kind of loop them back and forth,
Hmm.
which is a really good game plan. But I'll be honest, most of the time that never happens. And most of the time, Chevalier is literally just getting back a Carter or a Sporel. So like,
Seems good.
yeah, it's fine. It does good things, but I think that you if you didn't want to play it and want to try something else, it's totally reasonable.
Understandable. Understandable. Now, obviously, let's go ahead and move into the side deck. We've kind of touched on it a little bit as we've gone throughout the deck, but at the top, of course, Devouring Malice being in the sideboard. If I remember
Mhm.
correctly, y'all had this in main board at one point.
Yep, yep. Up and so we played Devouring Malice in the main. Um, Up and through the modern regionals, and then when we decided that we needed more aggro hate, we just subbed the Vapor Jet Shield in for it and just shoved it in the board. And really, it just comes in for all the decks that we don't need Nullifying Lantern against now. Like regardless of what it is, if we don't need Nullifying Lantern, we just bring in the Devouring Malice because it's a kill condition. It helps stabilize the game. It gives you cards. Like it's good. It you know you're able to float it out usually for 2 counters. I think I've used the debuff counters mode once ever, because we're already pretty good at clearing the board late game. So most of the time, this comes in as like a deal 3, heal 3, and then very rarely draw 8 or draw 2 rather for 8 damage. So yeah, it's really just to help smooth out the main deck material deck for when we don't need no lantern.
Makes sense. So, moving on here, we have the three Resolute stands. I feel like at
Mhm.
this point in the meta now, we don't really have to explain why we have Resolute stand anymore because aggro is just a thorn in everyone's ass. But
Yep.
um, moving into the frozen dismissals, I know obviously you play rejection. Rejection's a 4 cost. Dismissal's a 3 cost.
Mhm.
How did this feel overall throughout the weekend?
I brought it in 0 times this weekend.
Sounds about
I would have
right.
100% rathered it had been Regal Inquisition. We used to play Regal Inquisitions in the board,
Mhm.
and we had kind of forecasted that the meta was sliding heavily into fire aggro again, and so we had tested these and used them in the modern regional, and they were really good.
Mhm.
Especially with slimes on the rise again, it's really good into slimes, um, because you can just counter their level 3 Sylvie trigger with a frozen dismissal, and it like just blows them out. Same with Imperial Accord for the most part too. They're kind of like two sides of the same coin. They're kind of both for the same thing, but frozen dismissal allows us to hit things earlier if we need to. Like I've turned open 7 before if I've boarded it in with against fire aggro, and I've hit an Arthur with it, and like they just completely blindsided and like almost lose the game on the spot. It's pretty good
Yeah.
sometimes. It's pretty hit or miss. I've still kept it in the board going forward because I do think it's important. I think it's a pretty underrated card overall, but it does work in the things that you need it to hit. And I even bring them in occasionally against Merlin if they're on the more like creature heavy plan, which not a
Mhm.
lot of them are right now. I mean ally heavy plan, not creature.
Yeah.
Magic
Yeah.
head here. But yeah, if they're on the more like they have more dudes than the typical build, then I'll bring them in. And occasionally you can get catch them off guard and hit a ghost with it. It's fine. But normally I'm not bringing it against Merlin that often. But it is pretty good against like the Crux Lorraine decks because they typically have more dudes
Mhm.
than the Merlin decks. So I didn't play that at all this weekend, so that's probably why I didn't bring it in. Um, but it is pretty good again.
Makes sense. So the card everyone I know I had to do a double take when y'all said, "Hey, this is the card. This is the spice." Because I opened this card out of my cases, threw it into the pile, and said, "I'm never reading that. That card's terrible." But go ahead, enlighten us. How is this card
Imperial
overall?
Cord. It's very good. Being as the meta has really slanted to Merlin and level 3 decks, Dragon, Merlin, you have your water CLs running around, your Crux Knights, right?
Mhm.
Even these wind Aerosana decks that showed up at the tournament, and did well.
Mhm.
all of these decks play advanced element cards, and this card basically says counter whatever spell I want it to counter because paying 6 is almost like they just almost never can do it, right?
Yeah.
And here's a funny thing that people may not know. Advanced element cards are not just your normal advanced element cards. Uh, any of these exalted cards, it can counter too, because exalted is an advanced element.
Oh.
Uh, I cannot tell you how many times this weekend I Imperial recorded a Regal Inquisition.
Oof.
It happened quite a few times. But
Oh,
again, also
no.
really good at countering ghosts. However, the real reason we put it in the deck is because we were like, their Merlin matchup is atrocious. We need something that can really help us shore this up. And so we were for a few days we were just looking and looking and looking. And then I was like, man, we had talked about Imperial Cord before, and we were like, it's probably just not worth using because it is an advanced element.
Yeah.
And then we tested it into Merlin, and we were like, oh, they can never resolve Incarnate in the mid game with this card. And
Oh,
Incarnate
shoot.
Majesty is the card that really turns this deck upside, like our deck. It turns that matchup for them pretty hard because CL level 3 trigger, which is what we rely on a lot to grind out the game, 2 damage, right? It does it as a spell, and
Oh.
we can't target their champion with an Incarnate Majesty.
Mm.
So it gets really hard to win the game. So our proactive plan is to just not let Incarnate Majesty fall. And if you have an Imperial Cord when they go to make an Incarnate, you probably are able to counter it, and and the game gets a little easier to win from there.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic. My new list is actually playing 2 of them in the main because it was that
Oh,
relevant.
wow. That's
Yeah, it's very good. Very good. Very impressive card.
I can't wait for locals now. I'm gonna play my level 1 deck.
Right, right.
Yeah. Um,
I mean, the other good thing about it is like the funny thing, it's an advanced element card that doesn't dilute our water count. So
yeah,
early we can use it to imbue cerulean decrees, and it's like no cost. Like it's not
that's
quite the
so
same as
good.
board again more Umbra cards. So it's not like entirely useless in the early game. So it's fine. It can also use it to imbue fractal rains. You might not want to give your opponent that information, but
Yeah,
if that's all you have, like at least it's not a dud on level 0 like an Umbra card
true.
is. So
Mm, that seems so good. I didn't even think about
it's
using it
pretty
as imbue fodder. That's dope.
good. Yeah.
So moving on, obviously we have the two Song of Frost. We already talked about it. Comes in those matchups like Saryu and attack heavy decks.
Hmm.
The two more Carters. Did this
Hmm.
actually come up at all, or was
A
this
lot.
another one of those? Really?
I will tell you that I board in 2 Carters in almost every matchup because Carter is bananas. For people that have not played Carter before, this card is cracked. It was good before in Diana, but like obviously Umbra Diana was it's a relic of the past. But
Sadly,
man,
R.I.P.
Carter is such a good card.
Yeah,
It
that's
does
very
everything
true.
you want it to do. It's got life gain. It's a tempo swing for your opponent. It's extremely good on the turns where you go level up to 2, dump a bunch of things into your bin off a level 2 CL trigger, play your dungeon guide, swing for 1, play your Carter, sack your dungeon guide, heal for 1, cleave their board. And against almost every single aggro deck in the format, and
Yeah,
even
fucked.
decks like Dragon, and sometimes Merlin, who've played multiple ghosts out, like it just can be crippling to them because they lose their entire board. And sure,
Yeah.
it can be interacted with. And I have lost Carter a few times to a fireball with the trigger on the stack and
Mm,
whatnot, but that happens. But if they're using that on your Carter, if they're using their interaction on your Carter, and you're still able to stabilize, like you're that's just another thing that you don't have to worry about in the late game. And Carter does so much for the deck. He is very good. I bring him in. I bring at least one in almost every single matchup, unless it's
wow.
like not needed for whatever reason. Like I can't even tell. Like the mirror match is probably like the only time I would even consider cutting the Carters out of the main.
Mm,
Um, so and probably wouldn't bring any in, but like in almost every other matchup. Like so my matchups we might get into this in here in a little bit, but like my round 1 opponent was playing Vanitas horses, and I played a Carter, and he was like, I can't beat that card. And I was like, yeah,
Oh.
no, I just like cleaved his whole board and the game ended. Like, so like it was you like and against like suited, there's a lot of suited decks floating around now. You like it completely cripples suited. It's he is bananas. Two in the board, two in the main is exactly where they need to be. We used to play one in the board, a single one copy, but we quickly realized that if we didn't have the fourth and we needed to see the fourth, like we were going to lose.
Mhm.
So being able to have the to go up to the full four and then potentially like with the omen shenanigans and getting them back and being able to lineage release to get them out, like it's very good. Carter's nuts. I know he's expensive. Uh,
Yeah.
Probably one of the I would say that the this deck is like he is required for this deck. There's not much
Okay.
that's required. Liminal Guide and Carter are pretty damn near required for this deck.
Oof. That's a hard thing to hear on the
Eh,
wallet, but hey.
it is, but hey, uh, you know, good cards are good. What can I
True.
say?
Yeah, true. So we already talked about your round one. Let's go ahead and hop into round two. What'd you play against round
Mhm.
two of the event?
Yep, I played against Sky Sama, a very good fire aggro player. He was playing Liminal Guide Suzaku, and a pretty unconventional list. If I had
Gotcha.
to like guess based on what I saw, I haven't actually looked at their list, but like he was a much more like sit back, throw burn spells at you, sit back, throw burn spells at you until I'm ready to like
Mm,
actually do my thing. And normally I would say that Suzaku is of the fire aggro matchup, Suzaku is my best matchup of them
mhm,
because they don't quite kill me as fast as like Arthur Red Hairs and all that. And some of the Suzaku versions play that, but this version was not. And it caught me off guard. I actually had assembled quite the stall board state in our game one where I was at 15 life. I had a fractional lantern. I had a vapor jet shield in play, and I still lost the game
oh my
because
god.
Sky was like, "I'll throw a burn spell at you on your end step. I'll play. I think another burn spell in recollection after you drew a card. So I took like 2 damage, went to like 17 or 19, something like that. And then he was like,
Mhm.
"All right, cool. I'll flip Suzaku and play two Suzaku's commands."
Oh,
And I didn't have
oh,
any counter spells or a Song of Frost. Uh,
that's a
and I don't know if you all know what Suzaku's command does, but that card says damage can't be prevented on this attack.
that's tough.
So he killed me. And then the next game, I kind of just bricked out. It
Mm,
was pretty unfortunate. So I took a loss in round two. Was a little disappointed because we had tested that matchup and it felt pretty good compared to the other fire aggro matchups.
mhm,
And so I was a little disappointed I had lost that one. But is what it is.
true.
Round three, we moved on to a Merlin player. So I was a little
Yikes.
nervous seeing Merlin right back to back after my first loss of the day. But I got a little lucky because my opponent did not know how to play with my deck.
Oh.
He we had talked about we sat down, talked about our previous matchups, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've prayed pretty much like against most things, but I've not put any reps into water CL." Like I don't know why he like it was weird. He just like mentioned it, and I was like, "Huh."
Ooh.
Well, I yeah, be weird if somebody was playing that, huh? And
Surprise.
then when I leveled up, he was like, "Oh, this is gonna be rough." And like it hit. I think my opponent's just lack of experience in the matchup really showed. Because I was just kind of the we had devolved a game plan into Merlin that was more like don't give them value off your float. If you open with Fractal of Rain, do not play Fractal of Rain. We're just going to try to extract an early level one value.
Mhm,
If we can get a liminal guide on it, great. But after that, we're just going to try to build influence and then level as we have to. Preferably turboing to 3 off of like a level 2 pay 2 and then a dungeon guide so that we're not like completely out of the influence war. And then just start immediately triggering CL3 and grinding down that life total because the more damage you put on Merlin in the early game, the easier it is to close the game as CL. Because by the time they get to Merlin 3, and if their life total is pressured, they're going to try to slam an Incarnate Majesty immediately. And if you're in game one, that's fine because you can still kill the horse or the deer with Grand Sonore, just smack it, you take 4 back, whatever.
Mhm.
And then still get around and continue drilling down their life total with omen triggers. So it gets a little easier that way. But my opponent had no clue what I was doing. And he leveled the 2 and just sat there expecting me to like give him floating memory. And I just
Oh,
refused. And then I literally did the same thing in the second game. And he was slow to catch on what was happening. So I think like my opponent wasn't a bad player or anything. I think he just, again, he had no experience playing the matchup. And being as I had like drilled that matchup quite a bit,
yeah.
I in my testing paid off there. So it was good for me. And then going into the round 4 before the lunch break, I sat down across from my opponent who had a very cool one of the new Ashen Riffle mats, and I was like, "Wow, that mat is gorgeous."
Oh.
And so I immediately put him on playing suited, and so I was like, "There's no way you're just like rocking this Ashen Riffle mat and not playing suited," and I was right. However, my opponent was playing a a new take on it. I would say like I've heard mention of it before, hadn't really see it do anything, but he was playing a Nico aggro version of this
What?
list, and
Okay.
it was pretty unconventional. It was not a lot of fire cards, and there was way more water cards than I was expecting.
Oh.
I mean, he had Fracturizes, he had Intrepid Highwaymans,
Yeah.
Lilies, and
Oh.
Skewering Advances, and I was like,
Whoa.
I don't know what's going on here. And so, like, he caught me off guard, and he also had Heavy Swings. He heavy swinged me for 6-1 turn, and I was like,
What?
I don't know what's happening. Like I literally almost had no idea how to play against the deck, and I was like, but he is suited at the core. So I
Mhm.
was like, I'm just gonna play it as a suited deck and hope he like just draws a little dysfunctionally, and we'll go from there. And game one went in my favor. He did not have a very heavy pressure hand. I played a card or the game. Like that's kind
Yeah.
of how it goes. And then in game two, he plays us. He takes an early level and he plays a Snow White. And I was like,
Oh.
I can't level. This is a Snow White on the board. How? What is happening? Why is there a Snow White in front of me? And then so like I was like, fine, I'll just take the turn to build on influence, right, and try to find a paladin or something to deal with the Snow White. Instead, I draw Storm of Thorns, and I was like, perfect. This is great because my opponent had nothing else going on, so he was gonna attack with his Snow White.
Yeah.
And so I pass turn, and assuredly he goes, "Okay, cool. Well, I'll play Freezing Hail on you." And I was like, "Okay, well that's fine, whatever." So I let him hit me for 2, and then he's like, "Cool, I'll attack with Snow White." And I was like, I just immediately ripped off the Storm of Thorns and killed it. And he was like, "Oh, I guess that's a thing." And
Yup.
then was able to level up and kind of take the game over from there. He played a couple more dudes, and then I played a card during the game. So,
Okay.
kind of a weird deck, for sure, but it was cool to see. And sometimes surprise factoring your opponents in large tournaments is a way to get wins. But I've been playing this deck for quite a while, and I felt pretty good with it. So I think that my overall experience on the deck kind of pulled me through on that one. So
That's good. That's good. That's definitely unconventional. I don't know what I would do against that if I'm sitting across from it. Like, what is happening, dude? Like, you got a suited mat. You can tell you're unsuited. You're throwing heavy swings at me. You got Snow Whites. Like, what's going on? That sounds crazy.
yeah, I gave it mad props. I was like, dude, I love your deck. Like it's very, very crazy, unconventional. I was like, I hope you do well the rest of the day. So it was very cool to see, for sure.
So, what'd you play against after the lunch break?
So after the lunch break, we played against Braden from main deck, and we kind
Uh,
of talked about this earlier a little bit, but Braden's very big known dragon player. He plays for main deck, and we know him, good friends with him, and all the main
mm-hmm.
deck guys. And because we'd actually eaten lunch with them, and like we were talking, we were actually on. Uh, David did a little bit of video interview with me and Shannon and Justin at lunch, and we were actually on their videos. Check them out.
Yep.
They're
I'll put the link in
awesome.
the description below for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. They're dope. And so we were talking with them. Careful Study is the name of their channel. Go check it out,
Hmm.
by the way.
Yeah, check it out.
Couldn't remember the name immediately. But anyway, so like we're all sitting there for lunch, and I'm like, Braden's standing next to me. I'm like, hey, buddy, you ready to play? And he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah, man, we're playing. And then I think even David on the video, he's like, he actually put, he's like, oh no, round 5, Netto and Braden, this is gonna be crazy. So Braden's playing Dragon. Dragon's a pretty bad matchup for me. I mean, I kind of know how to play it. Stevo from main deck and Corbin, we had been talking about my deck's matchups for a couple of weeks because when we went to Banish Zone, they were like, we don't understand how you keep winning with this deck. Like the matchup spread is okay, but we can't bring ourselves to play a deck that just loses to Merlin and Dragon like it does.
Yeah,
And I
true.
was like, yeah, it's just kind of how it is. It's not unwinnable against Dragon. It's pretty terrible against Merlin, but like you can still play out of it at times. You just kind of have to know those play patterns. And against Dragon, your play pattern is to find as many Song of Frost as possible. Doesn't matter how you get there, just find them. And keep them in your hand and do not spend them at all ever until they make Dragon. As soon as they make Dragon, then you can start playing them because you wait for them to attack. You Song of Frost their attack. They get no arcane thing. Boom, boom, done.
Hmm.
This side note is another matchup that Imperial Court is actually cracked in. And here's why. When they play their arcane spells, they banish on resolution, right? However, Imperial Court says when you counter it, you can choose to put it in the banishment or the graveyard.
Oh my god, this is you, right?
Uh, it's actually cracked. When the first time the first time I played the card, and I was like, "Huh, yeah, put that in your graveyard." And Braden was like, "Huh, it was a harness lightning." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna Imperial Accord this." And he was like, "Oh, that just like throws off all of my math, all of my empower math."
Ooh.
And I was like, "Yeah, this card's really good." And he's like, "Yeah, this is kind of crazy. It actually was like bananas for me." So, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've done it locally a couple of times, and it just
Hmm.
feels pretty crazy. We have a Rye player. This card is also very good against Rye because when you counter their things against Rye, you can put it in the graveyard. So yeah. Anyway, back to the match. Yeah, we had a very close game one. Braden turboed me, was like level 3 on like turn 2, something crazy, and he was just like
Damn.
dragging you. And I was like, yeah, dude, you got like
Yeah, yeah.
like goodbye. And then game 2, we had a little bit of a longer game. If the game goes long, it's CL favored, I think.
Mm.
I found a few Song of Frosts, was able to get a few cheeky swings in with Sonore after stopping some key combats. I think there was a turn where I was like, I had a Song of Frost in my omens with an armoire on board, and I had 2 Song of Frosts in my hand with like
Mm.
8 cards in my hand or whatever. I could cast them all basically.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Cool, well, I'll attack." And I was like, "Yeah, well, I'll play this Song of Frost." And he goes, "Cool, well, I'll Byako's command and I'll attack." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Um, I'll activate Armoire and get my Song of Frost, put this other thing, shoot you for 2, play this Song of Frost that you know I have, and stop the combat." And he's like, "Cool, well, I'll Byako's command again and attack you." And I was like, "Yeah, I have this other Song of Frost." And he was like, "Okay, game ends." And he was like, "That was crazy."
That's so
And so then we went
gross.
to a game 3 with like, I don't know, we had like 15 minutes, 20 minutes left, something crazy, enough time to finish the game.
Mhm.
And we were talking about earlier. I kind of did the same thing. I found Song of Frost, I ground the matchup out, except I cast 5 of them that game instead of 3. So you know,
You lose
sometimes you're
that.
just better lucky than yeah. So
RIP our
yeah, he
boy.
was a little upset. Yeah, R.I.P. Braden. Love him to death though.
Yep.
Good time again. Good time to hang out with.
Yeah. So, what'd you play against round 7 after that Hollywood of a
So that was
game?
actually round 5. So we have round 6.
Okay.
Round 6 was another Suzaku player. He was feeling pretty good after lunch, but he told me that the same thing happened to him in Boston, where he went 4-0 before lunch, and then in round 5, 5 through 9 in Boston, he took losses.
Mm.
So he was like, "Man, I think it's just going to happen again." And I was like, "Well, you got to be positive, bro. Like, let's just have a good game. It's do or die for both of us. Like, we just
Mhm.
got to keep it out, right?" And he wins the die roll and flips over Spirit of Fire, and I'm like, "Okay, cool. It's probably like some sort of fire aggro deck." And then he levels up and he shows me Suzaku, and I was like, "Okay." Except this Suzaku match went much differently than my first, whereas The first one, I kind of just didn't get to do much because I set up all my defensive tools, but I didn't really have much proactiveness slash aggression.
Mhm.
This game one, I played 3 buffed Frostborn Paladins within the first 2 turns of the game. So
Oh,
that kind of happened, and my
yeah.
opponent was like, just shrugged at me and was like, "Yep, that's par for the course." And then the second game, I played a liminal guide, milled it, or played a primordial ritual and milled it, and milled 2 more liminal guides off the top.
Oh my
And
god.
the game actually just completely ended at that point. Like, it didn't matter
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I was level 1 with 3 dudes on the board. Um, and then I played a bullfrog, and he was like, I can't beat bullfrog
yeah.
like ever. And so he was a little disappointed, but bullfrog and paladins, yay, they are they do their jobs.
True,
So
true, 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 true.
and then round 7, I played against Merlin again, second Merlin on the day.
Yikes.
Except this one, this guy, his name's Blink. He's a pretty dominant player on Merlin out west in the SoCal scene. So I knew that this matchup was going to be very hard, and he absolutely demolished me. They were not close games.
Yikes.
He did everything he could, but the good thing is, like, at this point, I was 5-1, so I was locked for day
Oh, okay.
two.
Yeah.
Um, so I could my goal was after round 6, because I was 5-1. I was going to play round 7. If I win round 7, I'm 6-1. I take the ID into day 2. I'm 6-1-1 going into day. If
Seems
I
good.
if I play and lose, I'm 5-2. I still take the ID into day 2, and it's fine.
Mm.
So I was locked either way. I was feeling pretty good. Sat down. My opponent's like, I'm a Merlin. He shows me Merlin, and he had very good draws.
Mm.
Like, it wasn't even like I had bad draws or anything. It was a very clear showcase on why the Merlin matchup is abysmal for me,
Yeah.
and there was just not much I could do. Though I'm in the second game, I was pretty close to turning it around. I had killed Incarnate Majesty twice.
Heck
Like,
yeah.
and I was going for it for the third time, and like, I had just just ran out of gas and couldn't
Mm.
turn the corner just enough, because who can kill Incarnate Majesty 3 times and come out the other end? Like, it's really hard to do that. So,
Yeah.
because at that point, they're just going to fireball spam you to death, and
True.
that's exactly what he did. So, it was tough. And then around 8, I got matched with Zenandril, who won the tournament. Spoiler alerts.
Shout
He won the
outs.
whole thing. Yeah, shout outs to
Congratulations.
Zenadrill. Congratulations, my dude. We didn't play at all. He was like, I walked over the table, and he had his backpack on the table, and he was like, "Hey," and I hadn't even, like, literally just walked up, and I was like, "Are you Zenadrill?" He's like, "Yep." And before I could say anything else, he was like, "Do you want to draw?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." And we just immediately shook on it. I had no
Nice.
idea what he was playing. Like, I hadn't seen him run around the tables earlier. Like, I know he was doing well, but like, I had no clue what to expect. So I was like, you know what? I'm not risking it. I'm taking the draw. I want to seal
Yep.
my day 2, break my curse, get into day 2 finally, and just call it a night. And so that's what we did. Come to find out, he was playing Razor Gale, and in my head, I feel like this matchup is extremely good for me because we have so many ways to, like, stop what they're doing. Vapor Jet Shield just stops
Yep.
Razor Gale triggers completely. Like, they can throw them at you, but it does no damage.
Hmm.
And Storm of Thorns also does literally the same thing. So, like, you just make an early Vapor Jet Shield, and then you sit on your Storm of Thorns for, like, the whole game, and you play the value game. You have healing, which they can't really interact with. And sure, they can blink your Vapor Jet Shield, but, like, it one Maya reparation for 4 sets them back multiple cards.
Yeah.
Like, in my head, the matchup should be very good, and I would like to actually test this at some point coming forward to see actually how good it is. But, like, I feel like it should be pretty favored for this water CL deck,
Oh, I
and as
would
long
say
as you
so.
don't die in the early turns. But, like, we wanted to take the guaranteed lock. Not that saying I could have absolutely 100% beat Zenadrill
Yeah,
or
yeah,
anything
no,
like
no,
that,
no,
because
no.
very good player, but I feel like that matchup is probably favored.
Hmm.
So, but it's fine. We took the draw, and we sealed our day 2, and moved on to day 2.
So day two, I know that was when I started calling you, checking in on you, and I know it was a little rough for day two, but again, you made day two. That's an accomplishment in itself. Why don't we dive into what your day two matchups were?
Yeah. So day two, you because you get to see the standings at the end of the day, you know exactly who you're playing.
Mhm,
Basically, as soon as day two ends and they finalize the cut.
mhm.
Um, there is a New Jersey player. His name's Louis. Um, we've played before at the Bannerstone Regional. Shout
Yep.
out Louis. He's
Yeah.
cool
Shout out the
dude.
goat.
Chill. Yeah, the goat. He's awesome. All the New Jersey guys are great.
Mhm.
But I was matching Louis, and Louis is a very good player. He did very well for himself this tournament. I think he just narrowly missed out on top 16,
I think so.
if I recall.
Yeah.
I think maybe like 17th, 18th, something around there. 18th. Yeah, he
Mhm.
just bubbled just a little bit, so he did very well.
Tough. That's so tough.
But yeah, I matched him, and we had actually went to dinner Saturday night together. Me, like our crew and the Jersey crew.
Oh, nice.
Um, and so we all went to dinner, and I was making fun of Jacob because I was like, "Hey, Jacob, are you telling him all our tech? Are you turncoating me, bro?" Like, and Lou was just laughing, and but we had kind of known that going into it, it was gonna be, it was gonna be rough for me,
Yeah.
and yeah, so we sat down at the start of day two, and we were joking, whatever, having a good time, and my deck just decided it wasn't gonna work today, in day two.
Ooh.
I was never once in the match. I bricked pretty hard, drew lots of multiples of cards that were extremely irrelevant. I actually showed him my hand at one point in game two, and it was like triple Tide Diviner, triple Frostworn Paladin in my opener.
Uh,
And I was like, yeah, well, I guess I'll play naked Frostworn Paladins and naked Tide Diviners and try to figure something out. And
yeah.
that didn't really work. And so we lost that match pretty swift. It was all good. I wished him well the rest of the day. He crushed it. So
Mhm.
which was the opposite of what happened for me. So we went to the next round, and I paired another dragon player. And so when you start your day two with your worst matchup, and then your second worst matchup with your deck already being combative with you, you're probably in for a pretty tough day.
Yeah.
And yeah, my opponent killed me on like turn four both games, so it was pretty
Oof.
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of demolished me. Our match was over very quickly. I wished him luck, and I was just happy to be there at that point because you've got our
Mhm.
day two. And after losing round one, you're kind of your hopes of top eighting are out, but you're still playing for top 16.
Mhm.
Um, but after matching into it, because I had actually watched him play Dan, main deck Dan in the first round of top of day two, so I knew what he was playing. And
Mhm.
obviously the deck lists are open in day two, like you can
Yeah.
just check it on your Omni decks. So I knew, and his list was actually insane because he was playing Rise, both level three Rise in his material deck, so that he
Oh.
could fluffy them into the banish and have extra arcane cards that you can't interact with in any sort of way. So
Oh.
when he gets to level, when he makes dragon, he's just like got like three or four arcane cards in his bin already, so he can just like one swing you, empower, kill you. So it
Oof.
was very cool. It was very cool build. I don't actually recall how he ended up doing, but um, yeah, like good matchup for him, and he kind of just ran me over. So, and then our third matchup of the day and our final one, because I didn't actually get to play a fourth round on day two. Um, so my third round matchup was against a Gembu player. He comboed me on like turn three or four, um, when I wasn't expecting him to. And so I hadn't made an all lantern yet, and that was like a big mistake in game one. So he comboed me early, and I just kind of misread what was happening, and he got me. And then game two, I went first, and I drew six cards off the top of my deck, and it was three liminal guides and three dungeon guides. And
Oh.
um, I literally just laid them on the table and was like, "Hey, man, I think you win." And he was like, "Oh my god." And so then I played a Fractal Rain as my seventh card, untapped. Uh, or sorry, came back to my turn. I drew another card. It was like the fourth dungeon guide. And then I
Oh.
passed after playing Liminal Guide and then drew the fourth Liminal Guide. And I was like, okay,
Wow.
well, cool. And I was telling David this like literally right after it happened. or maybe it wasn't David. I think it was somebody else who was just standing around, one of our friends or whatever. And they were standing around, and my opponent was standing there. And I was like, "Yeah, man, you would never believe what happened." Like this, so I tell them the situation, and they literally turn to him and go, "Did this actually happen?" That's like a the odds of that are like insanely low. And my opponent just looks at him and goes, "Yeah, that actually happened." So
Dope.
you know, you win some, you lose some. And then our last round of the day, somebody dropped. We had like multiple drops in day two after like the first 2 or 3 rounds. And so I actually ended up with an odd number of players. So I got a buy for being the worst performer on day two. Go me.
Woo!
Pity wins, baby. So we ended up finished 37th. Elo's a scam, by the way. I lost 33 Elo for the whole event.
Boo.
On my first day two, which was a shocker to me. I was actually expecting to actually gain some Elo, but
Yeah,
because of day two, I got Elo farmed instead. So,
that's so tough. But
but
overall,
overall, it was a fun day. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, congratulations, brother. I mean that's dope to see you. Obviously, everyone sees the embarrassing picture. If you haven't seen it on Twitter already, I mean, it's super cool. I'm super excited for us to go to another Ascent and really tear it up and see how many orange shirts we can take a picture of in one day two picture. But I appreciate you taking the time, brother. We'll definitely I know we'll catch you in another one for sure.
for sure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, guys. We'll
All right.
catch you in the next one. Peace.